Land use is controlled and regulated through public restrictions such as planning, zoning, building codes, and subdivision plans, private restrictions imposed by deed, and direct ownership of land by federal, state, and local governments. The master plan of the community, also known as comprehensive plan. Local governments, municipalities, and counties establish developmental goals. This is not a regulatory document. It is a guide to anticipate the changing needs of the area, and it's a long-term strategic plan that anticipates future growth and services needed. Zoning ordinances are local laws that implement the comprehensive plan. Local government exercises police power by regulating and controlling the use of the land and structures within the designated land use districts or zones. Each zone is assigned a specific land use classification. No other land use controls affect all properties in a community to a greater degree than zoning ordinances. Police power of the state is its authority to create regulations and protect the public health, safety, and welfare. State enabling acts allow the power to enact laws authorized by the state's police power to be passed down to municipalities and other local governing authorities. Such regulations must be exercised in a reasonable manner, clear and specific, non-discriminatory, and applicable to all property in a similar manner. Other zoning uses. Other ways in which zoning is used can include buffer zones that separate residential from non-residential areas, bulk zoning, that's to control density, aesthetic zoning, to specify certain types of architecture for new buildings, and incentive zoning, to require certain uses in developments. Exemptions from a zoning ordinance. Zoning Hearing Board conducts a hearing. They can consider a non-conforming use, a variance, or conditional use permit. Building codes and certificates of occupancy. Permits are required before building. Certificate of occupancy is issued upon satisfactory completion, and ADA architectural standards may be applicable. Building codes protect the public health and safety from inferior construction practices by implementing minimum standards for materials, quality of workmanship, sanitary equipment, electrical wiring, and fire prevention. Building codes, they have R values, wind loads, and the codes are enforced by the local governments through building permits, building inspections, and certificates of occupancy. Subdivision and land development. Subdivision and land development ordinances may be created by the state or may be part of a local government's comprehensive plan. A subdivider buys undeveloped acreage and divides it into smaller lots for sale to individuals or developers. A developer improves the land, constructs homes or other buildings, and then sells them. A plat map, which is a subdivision map, shows the geographic boundaries of separate land parcels, usually by showing blocks of land divided into individual lots. A subdivision plan describes the subdivision features, including utility easements and compliance with zoning and other laws. Of property owners, they're governed by a board of directors or another entity. They may manage properties or hire a property manager, and the association must enforce any adopted rules and use of the property. Homeowners associations are responsible for maintenance, repair, cleaning, and sanitation of common elements. They must maintain fire, extended coverage, and liability insurance. Fees and assessments are imposed and collected by the HOA. Reoccurring fees, HOA fees, are paid by each property owner. Fees not paid may result in a court-ordered judgment to sell the property to satisfy the delinquency. Some states, the association does not have to get a court order in order to pursue foreclosure. Interstate Landfill Disclosure Act is a federal law that regulates the sale or lease of land and is administered by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The law regulates the interstate sale of unimproved lots and subdivisions of 25 or more lots of less than 20 acres each. The law does not apply to the subdivisions sold solely to developers. State subdivision laws may also apply to sales within the state of subdivisions located either inside or outside the state.
An environmental impact statement summarizes into a single document the long-term effect the proposed project will have on the surrounding environment. It provides local government agencies and the public with important information regarding environmental impact that can be expected from the proposed development. The National Flood Insurance Program makes insurance available to owners, tenants, and businesses if the community participates. It's administered by FEMA, and the insurance is for properties located in special flood hazard areas. And notice that acronym, SFHA. CERCLA, Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act. This is for pollution, okay, in the land and stuff like that. PRP, they want you to know that that stands for potentially responsible persons. What happens is it makes the liability for the cleanup cost go towards everybody. It can be strict, which means they can just pick one person. It can be joint. They can pick a couple people or several people. And it can be retroactive all the way back to the person who drove the pollutive whatevers to that business. Now, for someone purchasing a property that may possibly be polluted, the way that they can not have to be responsible for cleanup costs if later it's found that it was polluted is to invoke the innocent landowner immunity. Basically what that means is that the purchaser, the buyer, gets, and it's a company that comes out and does a phase 1 audit. They're certified to do a phase 1 audit, and they will certify whether this property has the potential of ever being a, polluted piece of property, so to speak. There are national priorities listed, and it's sometimes fun to look it up on the internet and see how close you are to it. The underground water supply can be contaminated from leaking underground storage tanks, septic systems, storm drains, herbicides, and other sources. Contamination can threaten private wells and public water supplies.